As a writer, you love so much of your world that cherry picking what's going to go on the back is really, really difficult.
The movie guy voice. You know, like here's the thing, like you watch movies. Movies often suck when you see their trailer because people who cut the trailer know what they're doing.
Maybe I'm just a snotty bitch that is too stuck up to couch it in the right way, but it feels so used car salesman to me.
So when I see what I used to not have versus the thing that I have now, I'm all like, this is easy street. By contrast.
You guys suck. Stop it.
Everyone throw your arms in the air.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. That was horrible. So,
all the energy I have.
Seriously,
sips coffee.
It's terrible. Welcome to episode 12 of Writing Prose. It is just the panel and the full panel at that. Woo,
the full Monty.
So before we jump into our topic, let's just go around the room real quick. Sai, how are you?
Exhausted.
You'll get over that.
So the reason being, you won't. This episode won't air for the next 13? No. Yeah, like 10, 11 days.
Yeah.
So this is the day after the auction stream, and let me tell you, I want to crawl back into bed so badly. But we are here.
Sai is probably not going to say shit most of this episode.
No, I'm going to monopolize it. I'm going to monopolize it. I'm not going to stop talking. I'm just going to keep.
Okay, we're going to move past. How are you, Gib?
You know what? I'm not bad. I did a stream yesterday for some other folks, and I'm tired. I'm a little, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm here. I love you guys. Let's press forward.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. And Eric, how are you?
I wasn't tired, and you guys like talking about tired makes me sleepy. So,
so now Eric's like,
I had an incredibly restful evening. I woke up, I checked things off of my to-do list before I walked in here, and I was like, I am so ready for this thing. And you guys are like, we're exhausted. My coccyx is broken. I have a hole in my lung, and I was like, holy shit, I'm sleepy all of a sudden. You know.
That might be a silent stroke. Watch out, Eric.
I think so.
Never know.
I feel like a brain cloud coming on.
I am totally linking to our merch for all of that.
Okay. Do it.
All right. So it actually works out really well because right before we hit live, Gib had a really good suggestion, which was talking about how to get yourself to write when you don't feel like writing. And I feel like right now, that's kind of all of us. Like, I don't really feel like I'm tired. I don't really want to. And I gotta be honest, I don't actually know how to do that. I was going through my writing before we started, and I was gonna see if I had anything that we could, review live of my stuff. And I started clicking and opening documents and was like, that's a prompt. That's a partial thought. That's like half of a poem. I was like, nope, I don't know that I have a full piece of writing that isn't, wildly depressing done on my computer. I think everything is just partials. And I was like, I'll come back to it. And I just never have.
What is that? Yeah. Is that just like you not having the time, or like, how is it that you like say you have a lot of prompts, you have a lot of sort of like starts, but not, turning the corner to getting close to finish?
Can I take a hazard a guess what's wrong with Shae? Can I hazard it?
All right. Let's talk about what's wrong with Shae.
No, I want to play this game. Let's see how who gets close without going over.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not, because a lot of great ideas come to you in moments of like little bouts. Oh, that'd be a cool idea, and you jot down a few notes, a few things, and I'll come back to this. The problem with coming back to this is, we all know like Shae and Sai are some of the busiest people on the independent internet, and so they're always promoting, always doing a stream, always doing something. And when it comes time to me time, that's just reserved for like napping, Netflix, and self gratification.
Napping Netflix
before it turns into like this project.
Narcolepsy.
Yeah,
the three ends.
If you want to go the three ends, yes. So that's my guess. How close am I, Shae?
That's pretty spot on. So I think another big issue that I have is that what I'm currently doing, I've kind of run my course in the satisfaction realm of serving in the military. I've been doing it for over 16 years. I'm kind of ready to just I wish that I was closer to 20 so I could just check out and start focusing on what I want to do. And part of the problem is I'm in that critical moment where if I want Red Valkyrie writing, art, cosplay to be something that's going to actually sustain me and be lucrative enough for me to do this full time, which is the ultimate goal, I have to put in the work now. Which means that I have very little time to actually do the things that I like, which is writing and art and cosplay. I have so little time for it. And like Gibb said, a lot of the stuff that was coming to me in prompts and stuff, it was when I was at a job that I despised, because I used to work 2 jobs. I used to work 60 plus hours a week. And my second job was cleaning.
I remember.
And I would be cleaning office spaces of people who feel that they're very important, so they behave worse than toddlers when it comes to vacuuming up toenail clippings on the floor, or people who have absolutely destroyed a bathroom and you walk in there and you go, the average age of the people that work here is 45. Explain to me how this is what the bathroom looks like when you're all adults.
Given how high the stuff was on the walls, I would hope that they were adults and not just climbing.
That was disturbing, yes. But the thing the thing that's really frustrating is I would be at a job that I hated. I would be at a job that I didn't like the people I worked with. I hated the work I was doing, and my mind would wander as a coping mechanism to deal with the fact that I was somewhere I didn't want to be. And I would have a ton of writing prompts and ideas and stories. And I used to sit down and grab 3 Post-it notes off of somebody's desk and write a poem out, and then shove it in my little cleaning apron and move on. And I don't have that.
You would write them down.
Sure.
Hey, I'm covering for you.
I don't care. What are they going to do? Come back and say, I'm sorry, you were too efficient in that room and you vacuumed it too quickly? No, go fuck yourself. You pay me for a set number of stuff to do. I do that set thing. You don't want me to leave before whatever time. So this is what happens. I have downtime. But yeah, so now I don't have that kind of stuff, and I get to spend more time looking at Red Valkyrie. But what that ends up doing is having me look at the business side of Red Valkyrie and how we can build it and bolster it. And that means that I have literally, Eric, I think I counted it up yesterday. I've got about 12 or so canvases off to the side that all have backgrounds, ideas, partial paintings started on them. I haven't been able to touch any of those. I've got a couple hand turkey commissions that people have wanted me to, watercolor and ink out because people are like weird shit. That's all been sitting there for literally 6 months. I've been trying to write my horror anthology for 18 months, and I am probably no closer than I was maybe a year ago.
That is my efficiency nightmare.
Yeah,
it's pain. When I was in the tail end of my military career and trying to write, but I was doing it for fun. I was still trying to get published during that time. It actually didn't happen until after my military career was over. But I had started my contracting career during that time, and for those following 6 years, I could double dip because I had energy and I was full of life, and I was out of the military, and that energy got me going for a while. But then, during my day job, I was a tech writer. So I wrote all day and had to deal with real world type writing and real world editors who are old house moms who hate you and want to argue over the proper grammar. They start taking your style and making it their own. It doesn't matter. Those days are behind me. But towards the last couple of years of that, I'd say the last third, I was just broken because coming home and then trying to be a father and a husband and do things around the house and sit down to now it's time to pen the next novel. The first few years was great because I had a backlog and I could build, but then as it kept going, it's the books took longer and longer to come out because the will was weak, because the drive was there, but the spirit was just crushed. By I spent all day writing to come home and write for fun, and then when I had to finish a book, I started feeling like work. I mean, unless you're a porn star, I guess it's just work, and it's you're just tired, and you have to. I had to trick my brain into like, this is fun. So it started getting like an hour in the evening or a few hours in the morning on the weekends, and even that started to feel like work. And it shouldn't feel like work. It should be a passion. Unless you got a mortgage and that's the only way you're paying your mortgage, then like as Jim Butcher says, I don't have writer's block, I have a mortgage. So, it just comes down to what are you doing it from creativity, or are you doing it because it's your job? And I want to balance those two. I don't know about you, but I'm always trying to balance the joy of doing the thing with the actual occupation.
Yeah, I get that. So Shae and I also do editing, and we've had editing jobs that were just a joy because the stories were amazing, and we loved the fact that we could hone that and make it even better through what we do. And then there are those things that we look at and it's like, how much am I making off of this? Like,
you
what?
read this same paragraph like 5 times and you just go, oh my gosh, I will get past this intro. I swear I will get past this intro. It will get better. Like, oh, the blurbs when people are trying to do a summary of what the entirety of their series is in what would be considered like on the back of a novel, right?
Yeah.
Those are hell in a handbasket to try and edit, because
this morning it's a pain in the ass to write and then edit.
Right. Well, and the problem is when you write it, you're like, you have this view and you're trying to condense it down into this. And as a writer, you love so much of your world that cherry picking what's going to go on the back is really, really difficult. And you're like, well, if I say this, that's kind of misleading and I don't want to be misleading. And it's like, okay, but at some point, you just got to summarize this is what's happening in this book.
Eric wants to mislead the fuck out of him.
Oh my gosh, if I can mislead as much as possible just to get you in the front door, you know what I mean? If I can say like, yeah, seriously. If I can do something to
that's
make
a cookbook.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. The best action story that you've ever had. And I clumsily walk you through it for the next 10, 15 pages. I'm into that. I'm in.
But see, that's the thing. Here's the difference is it's really hard to get as a writer or a creative. It's hard to also have that marketing brain going because the back of your book isn't supposed to be a true to life 100% accurate synopsis of what's in the book. It's supposed to be the holy fuck, I have to get this now. Like I must pick this up. And that's a marketing brain, which means any of those little threads that are like a little ambiguity in there that's not
ambiguous.
Thank you. Yeah, that one. Too many.
Oh, just let her
I got
go.
too far into it. There were so many.
Here's how somebody, to your point though, Shae. Here's how somebody explained it to me once. As far as a guy who actually did that, it was their exclusive job to write the blurbs in the back of DVDs, right? And then it applied to how they approach things when they would write things for the back, these summaries for the back of the book. So when you have a person who's at the bookstore, back when we had bookstores, and they would pick up something out of interest, right? They would take it, and you'd see this all the time. As a matter of fact, you probably do it yourself, where you flip through it, and there's enough there to catch you on the visual, right? Yeah. And then you look at the back and go, oh, that was cool, that was interesting. I wonder what this is about, because you don't have time to read it. And you look at the back, and you're like, oh, there it is. There's the thing that helps capture some of the things that I saw inside, or in reverse. They're like, I see the cover, they look on the back, they see if the interior has the same sort of, and this is obviously exclusively comics, but they take a look at the interior and they go like, oh, I think that captures what was written on the back. And to me, that's how I write that blurb in the back, where I'm like, I pick certain sections in the book where I'm like, this happened, this happened, this happened, that's 4. And then I close it out by saying like, hop on board for this next blah, 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 I'm really cheesy, but I believe it's an effective tool to help encapsulate that issue. And I've formalized it now where I'm like, okay, so it's 48 pages. I'm going to look on page 10. I'm going to look at page 20. I'm going to look at page 30. And I'm going to look at page 40. What did I see in any of those pages? Cool. And that's what I'm going to write in the back.
I grinned all the way through you saying this, because a lot of times when people are going to write that, and it's not necessarily what's going to appear on the back of the book, because I mean we deal in crowdfunding comics and graphic novels. So it's those first couple of hook paragraphs on the Indiegogo page, or it's their their short. Shae, it's slipping my mind what the fuck it's called.
Sorry, I was yelling at my Alexa. What was that?
Wow, like their elevator pitch. Right.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them are so horrible that I have started writing them for people who pay me to do so.
I don't have that. I do not have that. I don't know how many times people are like, so what's your elevator pitch, Eric? I'm all like, this building better have fucking 60 floors because we are going to be here for a little bit. And like, I don't know how to do it well because I don't know the formula. Does that make sense? Like, I deal best when there's like, oh, if you say this, this, and this, and I hate doing the imagine if it's like it's a cross between Men in Black and Edge of Tomorrow and blah. I hate that.
I hate doing
it too, but it works.
But it works. Oh my gosh, Gib! Like if you say that set of sentences to a producer, like for a movie, they're like, yeah, no, we get it. We want to give you $1 gazillion.
Let me tell you, like I've done a lot of conventions where I'm sitting there like the pound puppy begging for attention, hoping someone adopts me, and because of my face, people tend to like walk by, but there's like I'm sitting there in author alley or artist alley, and we're all sitting there at the table, and you're trying to put on your fucking face,
you need
and people walk by. And they don't allow those really anymore, per se.
They do, as long as you say, "Oh no, this person is part of my marketing team and is cosplaying my character."
Yes,
that's how you get around it. That's how you get around a booth, babe.
But which means
this is my marketing assistant.
Well,
my marketing intern.
So I'm specifically writing Tig Bitty, scantily. No, it's. But anyway, so people walk by and they'll give you that casual, that nod, and they'll look at the book. And if the cover art catches them, that's step one. That's what it always takes. Because authors can run the gamut from attractive to fugmos, so you don't want to base it off of that. But you're looking at the cover art. And then they pick up the book and they'll do that, So what's this about? And that's I have tried my first few times, like, well, it's a story of heart, and then it's like they go, after 8 minutes, like I'm done listening, and that's you lose a sale. It just turned into even though Technomancer has nothing to do with it, I said, imagine if Star-Lord and Doctor Strange on a quest to find the human soul. Boom, that's ubiquitous enough that people, interesting, and then they look at it some more. And I hate doing it because it feels untrue to my work, but I have to relate the information, and it sucks.
Well, you know what's really funny about it, though? From a consumer perspective, anytime somebody says, it's like, this thing this thing this thing if one of those three things that they hit, I know, and even somewhat like I can't piece together when you're like, oh, it's like if you took Men in Black and put it in Lord of the Rings and be like, I don't know what that looks like. Like, I have no idea what that is, where it's going, how that's a thing. But I'm like, I like Lord of the Rings. That's pretty good. Men in Black was fun. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do this.
That's the point,
there's no
right?
clue.
Exactly. You cater to, or you sort of broadcast a signal that has high affinity. Even to Gibbs' point, it doesn't necessarily have too much to do with your book. If you squint, maybe you'll see the connective tissue.
You guys are hurting me.
I know. Listen, I'm not advocating for it. Yeah, I'm not advocating for it. Every time I hear it, I cringe. But then I look at the guy. This was 2 tables ahead. Like, this is years ago. There's 2 tables ahead of me, and I thought, like, that guy. I don't know them, right? Mm-hmm. But that guy has a line out, like, metaphorically out the door. But he was always busy. Right, and I'm not the kind of person when I'm in a convention where I'm standing and engaging. That's not my style, but that works for some people, and it was working particularly well for this fellow. And so later on, I think in a quiet downtime, or maybe even before the day started, I went over there. I'm like, dude, I haven't seen you sit down. He's like, I can't sit down. I need to move these books. I need to be able to engage, and it's not a guaranteed sale each and every single time. But, I feel like the only way somebody will pay attention to me and I'm a nobody is if I do these things. And one of the things that I do is to make sure that it's something that they immediately can glom onto. Right? It's cheesy, it's cheap, but it gets people in the right frame of mind to talk more. right?
Yeah.
Or to stick around longer rather than going like, oh, that's nice, and then move on. I'm like, I don't have that craft. I don't
Every
have that
time I'm
skill set.
sitting at a convention, I'm sitting there writing until people I see them coming in the direction. I immediately stand up like I was in the military.
Do you really?
And I every single time, and I stay standing as long as there's people around. And if they come near me, I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm Mike, or I'm Gibby, and I offer to shake hands, bump knuckles, rub elbow, bump whatever they feel comfortable with. And
Bump uglies. I mean, it's
bump right there on the floor. It's not going to take long. But
2 minutes.
Guaranteed sale.
That's your established. Oh well.
Wow.
But that's the thing is like, and I try to like, oh, what's your name? Okay, hey Jim, I'm Mike, or hey Beth, and create the connection. And I hate to do it; it's the hustle. But I am trying to talk to other geeks about geek things, and I've actually turned away. I'm like, hey, listen, based on what you're saying, I don't think any of my books. This is the closest thing that you might like, but. And I will actually point to other people, and they tend to come back around because it's just they recognize my face, I recognize them. I'm like, hey, how's your thing going? Like, did you go to the panel? Because I have that military memory of like I remember my airmen, so it's like at least I can dump 3 days worth. You're on mute. I can dump 3 days of stuff.
I'm not on mute. I was just mouthing. I don't have that.
But
like I haven't learned that in the military.
Well, that was me as a master sergeant. My last
fair.
like 5 years. So it was like I had to memorize. And here's the thing: I actually did care about my airmen, and these people, as long as they're nice, why not care? I care enough to at least remember the rest of this weekend. And if they make a sale, fantastic. And almost every time since I started that approach, I always make back table fee, and I make back the bulk of my hotel costs. So at least it comes out to be like I only paid for gas money to get there, and that's me putting face to name. That's me talking to people and promoting the books. And cool, maybe they'll read them, maybe they won't. Sometimes I've seen other conventions. I've had people come back to me every convention I come back to, like, hey, is the next book out? Because I got it last year. I'm like, here you go. And we talk. I remember you. We stood over
That's
here.
ambitious.
You wore this shirt.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's work, and
it is work,
and it is the hustle, and it is nothing short. I mean, don't sugarcoat it. It's a hustle, but it's an earnest one.
So, I like 8 minutes ago, I wanted to interject that maybe I'm just no, it's fine. It was even before you. Maybe I'm just a snotty bitch that is too stuck
you don't need to
up
go any further. Okay.
to couch it in the right way, but it feels so used car salesman to me. You know what I mean?
It does.
My dad was a used car salesman.
Well, there you go. It's in your blood. But
Stepfather.
So, I mean, there's that approach. I have a hard time condensing things down to it's this crossed with this, because for the people that we work for and for the people that we experience in having on our shows, you have a more captive audience. Granted, they can always, just hit the fucking X and close out of your stream. But I feel like there's a little bit longer of an attention span than someone who's seeing how quickly they can walk the length of your con table before they can, cross the border.
But it is to say you need to come up with something scalable, right?
Right.
Depending on the space that you're occupying, yeah?
I kind of come up with the more middle ground of the approach rather than the short one. That being, I feel like in order to do the work justice, I feel like the audience or the potential customer has to at least invest enough to let me get out a good 3 sentences.
Sure.
Because if it's going to be condensed just down to, Men in Black and Lord of the Rings, it's
fucking awesome, by the way.
We're writing it right now. That's it.
We're
doing
on it.
You're doing the art.
I have that book. Agents of Mortal. It's a cop procedural with fantasy and like Men in Black. I wrote that book.
Kim's like, I already have it. Copyright TM. Stop stealing my shit. And you're like,
no, we're
going
gonna change it. 10%. That's all we need.
Horrible.
But you're right. It will appeal to a certain audience to just give them that really, really short snippet, and then that's where the I'm a snotty bitch or snooty or stuck up or whatever you want to call it, because I'm like, is that the denominator that I'm trying to get whatever it is in front of? And maybe I need to work on my pride a little bit and realize the fact that a sale is a sale. It doesn't matter if they've been caught by the short little thing or my long-winded fucking dissertation, but a sale is a sale.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think when it comes down to it, and this is kind of how it's always stuck for me. If somebody gives me the Lord of the Rings and Men in Black, right, and I'm like, okay.
Now we've
Every time
reversed
you
it.
say it
now
gets
we've
better.
reversed it.
Every time you say
now
it,
it's
it gets
Frodo
better.
and Sam dealing with aliens.
You know what?
Anyway.
What Shae just did? She just took a lot of the residuals that she needed to have paid out to Gib by switching it around.
Yep.
She's like, well,
I changed it by
worked for-
10%.
there it is.
But no, the thing is when I have people, so you have a variety of people in your audience, right? So there's a few things that you need to realize as a creator at all in any context, right? If you're an artist, if you're a cosplayer, if you do videography, if you write, like any of that, at some point you have to realize that people are going to get out of your work whatever they want to get out of your work. If people really, really want to get a whole bunch of drama or something like that, and you have even a small thread of drama in that book, that's going to be what they remember. That's going to be what's impactful. No matter how many other amazing thread lines you may have put out there that are getting picked up in really unique, innovative ways, that's not going to be what they're picking up. They're going to pick up what they want to pick up. And so understanding that having anybody get your book to read it, to have any opinion on it is a win. That's a plus. And then when it comes to the mass appeal, when you're talking about what your book is, you've got like the 2-second elevator pitch where you're comparing this and this. For some people, that's when they're sold, right? For a lot of people that are maybe more flippant with their money and, hey, you said 2 things that I recognize. That sounds good. Yeah. Those are the people that are going to buy that. People that are more like me, where I'm like, all right, I know that I like helping indie creators. I like indie stories far more than I like mainstream, because most mainstream get convoluted and incredibly formulaic. And, once you've read like a Stephen King book, like a lot of Stephen King books start to feel really similar. And so when, I've got that, or I've got indie authors who are willing to take crazy risks and things are going to be usually a lot more engaging, I'm willing to put my money there, but I have a limited amount of money to put. I'm the one that wants to hear, okay, without you trying to compare it to a bunch of pop culture, if that's all you have, if all you do is compare it to this pop culture thing and that one and this one and that one, I'm probably checking out. Because now it sounds like you're just trying to make the next big name thing.
I get it.
But if you say it's kind of like this and this, so what it is it's a story about this person who goes on this journey, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah. And you kind of, that was the quick, but here's what my story actually is, and you flesh it out more in your setting. That's what's probably going to hook me.
Right.
That's what's going to get me there. So you need to have the gamut of kind of the pitches, especially when you're doing things like conventions where you're going to come across all walks of life, all personalities, you've got to be able to hit all those different areas.
For me, I could, because you can't tell, you just gave a handful of categories there, Shae. Like, I wish people would walk up to the table with like a shirt on that says, you can engage me by doing this. Like this is the, I am an NPC, and if you hit these certain buttons, you will keep me on board. Like, it's tough to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
it is.
So we almost have to like play the law of averages, the game of averages, when it comes to like how will people react. So to your point, if you are in an environment, and I think Sai said something similar earlier, which like if you're in an environment in which you understand you have an audience that's a little bit more forgiving, or at the very least they have the patience to hear out a pitch. I understand that, right? So you don't necessarily have to truncate it by going to hey, it's like Men in Black and blah, 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 But
try not to pay Gibby any more royalties, I see.
Yeah, I'm switching it out. I'm trying to think of another property. But, so, I mean, if you do, but I think sometimes when you're at a comic book convention, I hone in on that version of the comic book convention. So if you're there because it's a huge sort of like a Read Pop convention, or like, you know, depending on the environment, you go like, I need to make this as mentally accessible to you as possible. So it's probably this and this, you know. And if I'm going to a more artist-centric convention, then I get into, remember, and I go like, artists watching movies, you know, like, it's kind of like this and this. It's kind of like, you know, Chinatown and the Matrix. Do you have anything like that, Gib? Chinatown and the Matrix?
Look at him think.
I mean, Technomancer.
He's like, that'll be the next.
Technomancer is kind of Chinatown meets
Gibbs hit everything. There's nothing that you can write.
Hey, creative types. Since we had no one come in, I actually need some help. I'm not going to do edits as we see here, but I need some input from you creative types. I literally wrote the back book stinger like just before we got on here. It's still the draft.
That's a coincidence.
This was your subject matter.
Literally, you know. But no, then I took a break, took a shower because I worked out really hard and I stank. So here we go. I'm gonna share this. Share screen. Share screen and pick.
So what you're saying is you want to wreck our format.
Yeah,
it's okay.
You said you wanted to look at stuff for feedback.
Here we go.
Let me make the font bigger.
I can read it.
I'm gonna look up.
Eric's like, I guess I'll look up and see.
You're interrupting Eric's work time.
I know we're streaming and everything, but
Gib, let's just do this.
I have not been able to read this, so
it's your blurb. How about you read it out loud? That sounds better.
All right, cool. Superheroes and supervillains are real. But what if there were truths the world didn't know? Truths that only existed amid the dastardly deeds and heroic exploits of the superhuman community. Excuse me, I back that up. Truths that not only existed amid the dastardly deeds and heroic exploits of the superhuman community, but in the hearts of those seeking answer. Truths that only Kevin can discover. In the idyllic city of New Francisco, Kevin and his independent internet video company, Kegstand, seek to get closer to the capes and cows than anyone else. But in this quest for coverage, Kevin begins to see signs of possible collusion within the Cape community. Along with his best friend Cool Greg, the unlikely duo follow the clues towards the answers that could fracture the world and their lifelong friendship. The Cape is a Lie, The Ballad of Kevin is an action comedy full of laugh-out-loud humor, thrilling action set pieces, and more than a few heart-wrenching moments of human connection. I don't have a finishing sentence.
That could
Get
be
it now.
one sentence.
Well, I don't know, but it's like this is my worst
you should
shot.
write that.
Oh, join them on their journey.
Yeah.
Honestly,
you should write out. I don't have a
thought that was
finishing
good. Fuck
sentence.
ever.
That's the level of troll that I would go to. I do not have a finishing sentence.
I do not have a finishing sentence. Is the
That's
finishing sentence?
enough said. Yeah, let's put it right there.
No, show enough.
Show enough.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Shay. You were saying something.
I was, and then I froze. That's fine.
Here's we're not gonna there you go.
The way that you have that last bit, you don't need a finishing line. It's like here. So here's the thing: you have two
the less
paragraphs.
is more.
So you
What are
already
you going
have
to
two
say
paragraphs.
at the end? All aboard the
I don't
hype
know.
train?
Look,
Choo-choo.
no. So
Sure, I don't know.
Here's the thing: you have two paragraphs that kind of briefly summarize the world, right?
Right.
There's a lot in those two paragraphs. There's a whole lot of we're going all over. Okay, cool. The very end very succinctly says, this is what this is. It's a comedy book. It's funny. We're following these characters.
Action.
Boom.
Yeah.
You don't
Gripping,
need
touching.
more than that. I feel like
Not
the
sure I
way
moved
that you
last
ended that is just
paragraph
kind of.
I usually end with those kind of stingers when I'm doing a back description, but should I move it to the top because it's the first line? Get the bluff up.
No,
there.
that needs to be the end.
Yeah.
That needs to be the last thing.
Okay, good. I'm gonna make it sure.
Yep, because the thing is if I turn a book over, I'm expecting to have somebody try to just drop me in the middle of this world and be like, this is what everything is, and you're like,
Yeah, I don't like that.
okay.
I like to go a little bit more poetic in the the movie guy voice. You know,
Yeah.
Here's the
In
thing.
a world.
You watch movies. Movies often suck when you see their trailer because people who cut the trailer know what they're doing. They can they got the right music, got the right hype, they got the right. Back in the day, these are the movie in a world. You know, they always do that guy
Yeah.
voice. And movie trailers are dope. And then because it's a 2.5 minute or less. Here's what you're going to see. And then the movie is a much drawn out version that may or may not, because the trailer made it look hype and the content is less so. And the back blurb is your movie guy voice. And I try to talk in that voice. And it's helped me so far. But you always have second guesses and doubts.
Well, I'll tell you. Sorry, Shae, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
There are two halves of me. The reader audience half of me loves what you did there. The editor half of me is just screaming sentence fragment over and over again. But that being said, I would look farther into that book.
Okay, I haven't passed it off to the actual editor yet, because this is just, like, again, this is what I was just hammering out, because I was sitting there looking at a blank screen just today. I was tired, I was pissed off, but I knew I had to start working on this and make forward progress, because I would like to have this and the next Technomancer out by the end of this month, and I have to, like, this is part of that step. And I got up this morning, made my coffee, sat down at my computer, I'm looking at, like, I had to start formatting the Kindle, the paper, and I had to start working on the back blurb. And I hate forcing myself to be creative. Literally this topic. And that's the reason I brought it up, because forcing yourself to be creative is a pain in the ass. So how do you all deal with it? Other than just jump in and just see what sticks? You're on mute, Eric. You're on mute, Eric.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
I want to put something in front of you that you... And by this, it's going to get in front of your editor, so maybe they'll address it. But on top of the title of the book, Kevin is in there 4 times. Kevin. Got it. Just be aware, it's coming. Unless you want me to really know that the cat's name is Kevin, I'm on board, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and the only real feedback that I have is that in that first paragraph, the sentence that you, even after you wrote it, the sentence that you had to, backtrack, let me say that again.
I'm a horrible reader, but I understand. Make clarity.
Right. That sentence tripped me up, and I read it 3 times. So maybe look at finding a little bit more succinct way to put it, or rearrange it, and so it's a little less
tracking
boisterous, because it's
and multiple Kevins. Got it.
But here, listen, the structure is really well done.
It is.
Here's a thing. I'm setting up the sort of conceptual expectation, and then here's the explanation of the book, and then here's you breaking down the themes that are going to be you're going to end up finding in the book. It's really straightforward, and it's really smartly done.
Thank you.
Well, that like I said, I like that ending as you have it. I feel like it's punchy. I feel like it's...
I agree.
So here's the excerpt in the world. Here is the why you give a fuck. This is what it is. This is what you're on board for. Boom.
Yep.
I read back of other books, and I've heard some people try to go into their world building, and that usually tends to turn me off. And that could be on the back of a novel, that could be back on a TPB. You know, like if I see like too much world building up front, but you also can't get across a character's heart or motivation as well. So sometimes that's a pain in the ass. So I look for ones that like give me the blank, set up the world, give me the mystery box. I hate to be J.J. Abrams about it, but damn it, he knows how to set things up and ask questions. Whether he can answer or not, it's another story. And then give me the stinger. You know. Coming this fall, you know, whatever the hell it is, you know, you give me the movie voice and you do that. And so I try to follow that pattern, but trying to follow that pattern while you're doing your own voice in it is a pain in the ass, hence asking for feedback. Like we've talked before, like you go to your friends, you know, if you go to not just your friends, but your peers and look for honest feedback. So I thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you, man.
Except for Sai.
Except
for Sai. Screw Sai. No, so that's the thing is you ask, like, how do you get past that?
I'm so maligned on my own fucking show.
You self-malign constantly.
That is true.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you have to join in.
Well, you know what? That's fair. That is fair.
I strike the right balance for my ego. And then it gets destroyed.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, here's the thing. I wouldn't come to you if I didn't believe that you have 1, the intelligence, 2, the skills, 3, the passion for this type of thing. You know, that's the thing. Like,
and 5, the want to see you fucking succeed because I love your books.
Well, but that's simply all jokes aside. I love you guys, but I respect you more than that. You know, beyond the love, that's nice, but I do legitimately respect you. In the beginning, not so much, but you know, except for Eric, you know, because he's got IMDb and I don't. So
knock it off.
You knock it off.
So does that mean that You're gonna kiss us on the cheek before you leave the 50 on the nightstand. Is that what you're saying? You respect it?
It's before I put 2 in the back of the head, because I can't have better people around the world than me. No, it's kiss.
2 what in the back?
Pop, motherfucker.
I was going a different direction.
2 somethings in the back of the head.
Yeah. Stop it.
That's the next
part.
You were about to say something, Shae. What is the tiredness question, right? The exhaustion question, not trying to find creativity when you're...
Yeah, so how you get past it. It's something that I really struggle with, because I tend to, when I have the desire to be creative but I don't feel like I have the energy, it's really difficult to not give in to that exhaustion. But one of the things that I've found is, if I can get started, if I can just write a couple things that are horrible, and even if it's just like, I really want to write a story about a mouse riding on a train and what the world is like for him, like Fievel Goes West style or something, and you start putting it down, and then you're like, okay, so how would it go at first? And you're like, I don't know, he's like sitting on a seat, I guess. People scream, and he realizes he can't sit on the seats because people freak out, and then before you know it, you start like actually getting into a storyline, and you look back and you're like, okay, so like the first like 5 pages of random word association that I did is horseshit, and it all needs to be like cut or rewritten or whatever. But you get into a groove. It's that it's the same kind of thing that they say when it comes to working out, right? You will always feel tired. You will always feel sore. You will always feel too exhausted to go for a run, to lift weights, to do anything. But once you start doing it, you suddenly find that energy. And it's the same kind of, in order for you to start forward momentum, you have to kind of push against it for a while until
secret?
Yes, that's why I keep telling you to get up and lift your fucking weights.
I just keep buying more exercise shit, hoping
drink your Ovaltine, damn it.
Cy buys kettlebells and then puts them under their pillow. I'm like, this is how it works, right? You just sleep on it, and then you wake up to 6-packs.
Yeah, osmosis. So Shae just has to force herself to start. I kind of distract myself when I'm wanting to be creative, but just can't.
What does that mean?
So I'll do other things that involve creativity, but not my own. So I'll watch something or I'll read something, and I'll hope that will get me over that hurdle of, Shae, I'm going to use the word, that malaise.
Malaise is a good word.
It's an inside joke.
I'll let you in on malaise after the show, Eric.
Yeah, we'll talk
off
air.
Is it like cacophony? Is that what that
is?
No.
So I can. That's one way to approach it. The other way to approach it is, if I'm having trouble getting the creative juices going, what I'll do is turn to the technical side. Turn to the technical side of writing. And so the funny part is, the way Shae's describing it, this that kind of push through and freewheeling kind of no structure writing is pretty much the only creative writing I've done, and I hate it. I prefer to have the outline, to know what's going to happen in my own story. Sure, there can be pleasant surprises, but I prefer to have the bones, so that then I have that structure that I can work within. I can fill that space if that space is defined. When it's a blank piece of paper, when it's just me having free reign, I'll just sit there and stare at it and be like, well, what the fuck? So, yeah. Thank you for explaining, Shae.
See, I'm the opposite. When I have a fairly solid outline, I don't want to write, because I already know how it's going to end, and that kind of breaks me. I like to have give me three or four main beats, and that's it. And I'll figure, I know the beginning, the end, and like a cool scene, and I'll see how it happens. And that way I feel like I'm discovering. And of course, the editorial process, you fix things as you go along. But
Well, okay. Look at it this way. All right. Remember your book where they go to the Far East.
Yeah.
Right. So in your head, you say, okay, I want them to fight huge Oni robots.
Yep.
You think about the boat scene that was in the beginning. You think about the sniping scene towards the end. I don't want to give any spoilers. So you think of all these things that you want to include, right? And then you kind of put them on a timeline. Okay, where do these have to happen? Where do these cool things need to happen in order for the story to make sense? And then you can fill in between. Is that more along your method?
Similar. It's like in that book, I'm like, I know it's one piece at a time. So I know I was starting with the prolipses. I was starting with an ending, and I was going to have these like things throughout, these little interstitials. I knew that was going to start with getting them back. I knew that they were going to end up here, and I knew what the final fight was going to be. Everything else I just kind of discovered. It truthfully, like we talked before when about feedback, when someone was so painfully cruel but truthful about my first book on a couple of sessions. I'm like, I need better things. So when I look back when I was drafting that, I'm like, I need to bring back the cat character, and I need to make her dope. So when she became a pirate captain, like there's your transportation. Like I had this idea of her as a pirate captain. Like, okay, that's how you're going to get point A to point B. Okay, and then while I'm writing, I'm like, I'm learning more about the character that I never even planned on, and I'm loving it. So then I go back and like make it fuller. And I am a go forward, erase, line over, erase a little bit more, line back over, and then do a final pass kind of guy. I'm a layers style author as opposed to like a perfectionist, because I'm a messy painter, I'm a messy artist, and I like working with my fingers and getting dirty. That's how I am. But that's what works for me, because I'm so ADD that I can't sit down and focus to do an outline, because I feel like I'm committing to something,
Right.
Shit, that feels like I'm married to it at that point. And like, my brain's like, hey, they have pencils have erasers for a reason. I'm like, no, but if I write this is what it has to be, right? And then I argue with myself.
See,
That's
you're more
what I'm like
messy,
when I
I'm
draw.
more surgical. And Shae's...
I go in between. It depends on what I'm writing. So if I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write poetry, or I'm going to do like a one-page story, total blank sheet. It needs to be just, this is, I have one of the prompts on there, and literally the prompt for that poem just says regret. It's all that it says. And it's like, okay, whatever mind space I'm in, blank page, the idea is regret, ready, go. And I start, putting it out. It gets clunky, go back, and just like Gib does, go back, erase, and redo. But if I'm doing something like things for comic books or graphic novels, or the nightmare that I had that I want Luke to illustrate, those have really loose skeletal structures, and then it's trying to pick which scenes I think are going to be the most impactful, which ones felt like that whole thing is based on a nightmare. So I go back in and look at my notes and I say, all right, what parts made me gasp for air, or my heart rate peak, or shot me out of bed horrified, and those are my beats that I want to make sure that I hit well, and the rest of it is just kind of cannon fodder. It'll fall wherever it falls. So it really depends. If I'm doing short stories, then there's a little bit more structure. If I'm doing longer things, there is a lot more structure. Curse of the Bathory, I still haven't sat down and wrote it because I keep getting in my own head about it, but I know where I want it to go. I know exactly what beats I want it to hit. And I have done so much research on the back end of it, and this is all, it's hilarious. It's all stuff that is probably not even going to make it into the book. But if I don't have it in my head and I don't know about it, then there will be moments that could have been great moments to hint at history from parts of this that I will completely miss. And that's something I don't want to do, because if this ends up being a series and we do more of them, or I end up doing an ash can and do highlights of the history of the Bathory and how that all kind of came to be, because for us it's a physical object. And if I decide that I want to do all of that, I want to know it ahead of time, and so I know what I'm putting in where. But sitting down and writing it has been really overwhelming because I got very precious about the beats that I wanted to hit, and now I'm like, I'm not going to do it justice, so I'm like terrified to write anything, and I'm really not going to do it justice if I never fucking write it. Like,
this idea is too good for me to write it.
Exactly, it's too good. I don't know if I'm a good enough writer, and it's not that I can't.
I know that fear. I know that paralysis. It's not necessarily analysis paralysis. It's you have in your mind this concept of an idea that is so pure,
so shiny,
perfect, so endearing, as it's almost a reflection of your fucking soul, and then it's not fear of putting your soul out there, it's fear of getting it wrong. Because what if I write an 8 instead out of a 10? Nothing's worse. Like whenever you see a movie, read a book, play a video game, and the reviews come in, and they're not reviewing what is, they're reviewing what could have been, because they see the seeds of greatness. But it doesn't reach those heights. Like I saw Thor yesterday with my son. We had fun. The internet's vacillates whichever direction and whatever your thing happens to be. We had fun. That's all I needed, But it could have been great, but it's a Taika movie. So it was what I needed at that time for me and my son to bond and have a good time. Now, that's the thing is, though, you're going to find an audience. Even if someone says it's an 8, someone's going to come to you and say it's a fucking 11 because it hit me. And now you want that 11 to be ubiquitous and everybody to
right.
But you can't make everybody happy.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is the specific story that we're telling with the Bathory, there's already a lot of people who aren't. Yeah,
you gave me we talked offline for about half an hour, and you pitched it on it, and I thought it was a dope idea, and you should definitely go forward. And I'm gonna tell you this right up front: you're gonna make mistakes.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be horrible.
But no, it's not going to be horrible. It's going to be pure. It's going to be real, and it's going to be yours. There will be mistakes. I'm not even talking grammar or anything like that. There were things like I should have done this, or I could have done that, and that's a creative's curse. Maybe Eric's, he goes like, nope, that's exactly the way I meant it, and it's perfect. No, thank Christ, because normally no matter whatever I have a point, he goes, nope, not me, fuck that. Every single time. But it's almost like you go back and look at a stray line, you go back and look at an errant word, or you go back and look at like, I could have made this tighter, I could have made this stronger, I could have made this more impactful.
That could have been a more impactful interaction.
Then you get into George Lucas disease, where you go back and start tinkering with your original trilogy, and you piss off you will always have that I could do better, and you could. That's the thing, is like we grow all the time. I'm going back, I re-edited the very first Technomancer book to basically make it a second edition, and I've grown so much since then that I'm trying to it's the story's the same, but I'm changing the voice to more of my modern sensibilities, and it hurts me to look back on that and like I cringe at myself. But that's don't be afraid of that. Do it. Have fun. Because when you dive into it and you're up to your elbows in blood and guts, like that's the best time to be a surgeon. Like, this is fucking awesome. Look at that shit.
Well, and that's what's funny is I can have that mentality with art. Like, I understand. I will paint something and I'll be like, that is the best I can do right now, and that is not great, but it's there. Damn it! And then I'll go back to it and I'll be like, oh, that was. Her eyes are looking in 2 different directions. What the hell did I do? Like, let me just repaint this real quick and do something entirely better than what it was.
Yeah.
And with art, I guess you know what it is? It's because I was told my whole life that, you have the ability, but you don't have the drive to be an artist, so you're never really going to be an artist. And so for me, it's always been, hey, if I can put out anything and make people look at it and go, no, that's pretty good, and be like, fuck yeah, you guys told me I could never do it, and I did it, and fuck you all, But writing, everybody from when I was little was like, wow, you should be a writer, you should tell stories, you've got a lot of stories to tell, and now I'm like, oh, but what if it's not good enough? Like,
see, I got that a lot, because I loved to write, and I loved to draw as a kid, and I was a decent artist in my class, but I was always like the 3rd or 4th best in my class, and I loved to write. And I was a 3rd or 4th best, and that broke me all the time, because it like people are like, look at Sally's art. I'm like, fuck Sally, fuck her in the face.
I hate Sally. She's so good.
Yeah, exactly. But she was. But everybody went to like, and I'm sitting there drawing, but I'm like, I'm trying to learn. But like, how does your hand do? And I'm like, my brain was literally like, how are you doing what I cannot? And I still love to draw. I'm just not great at it. I put that DeviantArt thing in the chat there for y'all to like make fun of me for a reason. But I still love to do it. I found a more of a mixed media seems to work for me pretty well, and I'm doing better at that all the time. But even that, it's like I look at what other people are doing, and how'd you do that trick? How'd you do that? How'd you get that concept? Yeah. It doesn't matter, man. Write the Bathory and make it Shae's Bathory, and it's gonna be dope. I promise you. And
it'll be badass. We're getting to a point where I've got a couple of editing gigs coming up, and once those are done, I can sit down and just do what I want to do. And Bathory and art, those are the two things.
And this comes back down to the topic. Sometimes you just got to go to your friends and say, "Do the fucking work," 'cause I believe in you.
Yeah. I need friends that are gonna be like, "Where's the first draft?" And be like, "Fuck, okay, fine, I'll write it this weekend. Damn it!" Like, I need someone to tell me that they're gonna, like, I will find you if you don't write this. And be like, okay, like, oh, all right.
I wish I was at a level of critical and specificity as all of you. As I'm listening to you guys talk back and forth, you guys are like, oh, what if this sucks? And what if this, like, I've built an internal mechanism, and by the way, it's been persistent throughout my career, where I prevent myself from thinking this'll suck. Because it was because I had to deal with the idea, like, whoa, this probably won't be as good as anybody else's. You know what I mean? Like, I look to my then art heroes, now sort of like the examples that I use, like, I would love to be able to write like that, knowing full well it probably won't be that good, but now the mechanism has turned into like a fully functioning muscle where I go like, whatever, this is probably going to be good. And
it'll probably,
you know what I mean?
Fine.
It'll fine. Don't worry about it, because there's plenty of times.
From you the other day.
Yeah.
Sorry, but what was that tweet from the other day? You drew someone else's character, and they like, hey, I like that, or something like that. That was baller.
Right. Yeah, that was like Walt Simonson who like drew Thor, and it's like the big thing. You know what I mean? But it is to say that in my head, rather than going the 50% the other way, to go like that's probably not going to be as good. I'm like, this is as good as I put down based on the skill level that I have at the moment, right? So when I look back at old pieces, I'm like, that's laughable. That shoulder looks like a penis. But
yes.
Like, why didn't I see that back in the day? By the way, I'll show it to you. I'm literally looking at it right now, where I gave it to the, do you guys know the actor Scott Adsit?
Scott who?
Scott Adsit is the assistant on 30 Rock. Tina Fey's assistant on 30 Rock. Bald up top, hair on the side. Yep. Really distinct look to him. Wonderful human being. Big comic book geek. He has a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen-centric sketchbook that made the rounds. And so he asked me, and I think my drawing was right after Adam Hughes's, so no pressure at all. So I drew all of them, and the character Hyde from that series, I look back, like, I was like really proud of the image, and then I gave it back to Scott. Scott was very happy with it, and I walked around the convention, and then everybody was like, "Eric, I like that penis that you drew." Kind of like wink and a nod, like they were implying that I snuck it in there, and I'm like, I clearly did, because I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. And I look at the image now, and I'm like, oh, that is definitely a pee-pee, you know? And that's just based on my skill level, my craft. Now, obviously, whatever it is that I'm kind of zoned in on at the time, I forgive myself very quickly, because I know I can do better than that now, right? So the moment I get into like, oh, this will probably suck, the other voice goes, but this could probably be very good, you know? And I listen to that guy because he helps my ego a whole lot more.
Well, was that famous Lobo where was it Bisley had that, like the back of Lobo's big muscled arm from like the was late 80s, early 90s, but it was like a giant dick right down to the elbow.
Oh yeah. And he even went to the point of like rendering the highest point of the elbow with the red, so you're like, that's a pee-pee. Yeah.
That's a pee-pee. Yep.
Yeah.
That dude was Baymax. That guy's awesome. I know you're talking about.
Baymax.
No, he was.
I was just gonna say, Eric saying PP repeatedly during the show is, yeah.
That's the tagline for this thing. Eric says PP. I have a
3-year-old kid, you know.
Eric says PP. By the way, I really love how you downplayed what Walter Simonson said, because you're like, oh yeah, this is great. That is not what he said. He said, boy, I hate it when other artists do my characters better than I do. That's what he fucking said.
I think I captured it pretty well with him.
I don't think so.
You know what, Eric? Just so you know, and I'm letting you know this because I love you, and I really want to see you have the reaction that I know you're gonna have. I screen grabbed that. It's coming up on this during this portion. Yeah, I screen grabbed it. It's already saved. It's part of the images. It's happening.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Gib, for letting me know it was there.
Yes.
Oh, dude, I saw that the other day, and I was like, oh man, that's got to be a feeling, you know? Because I mean, I look at your work, and I'm already blown away by like the technical skill and like obviously the years you've built onto your technical skill. And I look at that, and I'm like, and I look at my own like pathetic attempts of art, and I look at you, and I'm like, again, fuck you, Sally. But
damn it, Sally.
Sally
Eric.
Field, by the way. Sally Field, a good one to school. And
you know, no. There was a girl named Sally. I won't say her last name. She's actually a really sweet person, but it's like she just had a better talent. She could do realism, and I never could. I was always an abstract artist because I just couldn't grasp realism. And the people that can, I'm like, hats off to you. I never could, you know. But I look at your work, and I start trying to break down the lines. I'm trying to look at the starting point. And the thing is, like, it's kind of like when other people are like, hey, how did you write this? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I just kind of did it for long enough, and it just happened. And like, and I have to imagine it's something the same way with you. Like, I started with a circle one day, and then it turned into a person, and a person turned into a scene, and a scene turned into like Arcathena. You know, it's just, you know, like how do you get to Carnegie Hall, kid? You practice, and like anything else. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point, like it's Walt Simonson giving a very kind compliment. He's the guy that built half of, you know, that portion of Marvel when he was working there. So to get that, I don't want to diminish it. I don't want to seem like ungrateful, but it's like that really did make my day. But there's some bozos, like, you know, my stepfather always says, like, act as if you've been there before. Not that you're, you know, arrogant about it or like, oh yeah, this is just commonplace, but there's some dum-dums out there now because of their conduct would highlight that and forward it to as many people as possible. I'm just like, that's really cool, but I don't know if you really mean that or if you're being nice. I'm going to be grateful for it, but we're going to move on to the next thing, you know?
Well, it's like everybody. You stand on a platform next to people
that
are peers, and they're like, they wonder, like, some of them are wondering how they got there too. You know,
right.
When I did that podcast with some of those other indie authors who've been in the name longer than me, and they're more successful than me, and after the podcast's over, I'm just bullshitting with them, like, oh man, half the time I'm faking it anyway. You know, like some days I have lean months, my book sales, and I don't know what I'm doing half the time. Like,
absolutely,
dude, man, that meant the world to hear that from somebody else. So thank you. You know, so
yeah, very good point.
Yeah, I really think what the difference is between somebody who is successful and somebody who isn't is just the drive to keep going despite. I actually had I got a sticker, and it's horribly like we're gonna, you know, just have a feel good talking point sticker, but I love it because of what it actually says, and it says, somewhere in the world there is somebody less capable than you doing what you love because they had enough faith in their ability to do it. Like, they believed in themselves, and they are less capable than you, but they are doing what you love to do. So, like, basically, what the fuck is your excuse? If you were more capable...
That's the longest bumper sticker ever.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's huge. It's like, it's the whole
It wraps
wall.
around.
It's like
you
one
read
of
it on
the
the front
F-350
bumper.
dualies, like the double wheel ones that keep going. You know.
Yes. Yeah, you gotta just plaster it on
I
the
understand and 100% agree with the spirit behind what it's saying. I add to that by saying, like, I don't have time for the thing that slows me down, right? I only have so much time available to me. I only have so much resources available to me. And in contrast to what was available to me or what was not available to me before, like, I look at these young kids who I often yell at to metaphorically get off my lawn. The kind of things that are available to them now when it comes to creator-owned books and self-publishing that were nowhere near, just not even financially feasible. But when it comes to, like, getting the word out there to people and bringing a level of awareness to it so that people can go out and help you, like, you know, crowdfunding. Where was that tool back when I was trying to publish my very first book, my very first set of ideas? It was non-existent. You'd literally have to spend upfront money, go sit at the table, and do what Gib was doing, which is be as personable and be succinct and be, like, engaging as possible. That's not available. That wasn't available to me. So when I see what I used to not have versus the thing that I have now, I'm all like, this is easy street. by contrast. It's still, there's work behind it. It's not throwaway. It's not like, dirt off your shoulder kind of thing. But certainly I'm like, I don't have time, because the time that I spend being, maybe the word isn't sort of like insecure, but the time I spend second guessing this whole process is time I could be drawing. Let me go figure it out later when I exhale and once it's all done. That's like 1980s
well
tough
said,
love,
dude.
man.
No, that's awesome. Love it.
Well, and it really is just, you don't got to worry about what everyone else is doing. You got to worry about what you're doing and do it to the best of your ability and just grow.
Absolutely.
Like, you're not in competition, despite the fact that, yes, technically you are competing with anyone else who's got an indie comic or anything like that out there. The person you're actually in competition with was the person that you were before.
Yeah.
You're in competition with yourself, and you owe it to yourself to be better than you were the last time you sat down and wrote, the last time you sat down and drew or colored or anything. That's what you need to focus on, because if you're always worried over here about what's on someone else's plate, you are never going to improve. You are going to focus all your energy on all these other people. I just read a quote from Pete Sametti. He just put a tweet out, and he said, I will never understand indie artists and indie authors who focus more on the mainstream than their own projects.
I agree.
Focus on yourself.
I agree.
Put all this time, effort, and energy into what you're doing. That should be your primary focus. Who cares what everyone else is doing?
No, there are two bumper stickers, bumper sticker quotes that I think about, and they both make me laugh, and they get me realigned very quickly whenever I get hung up. I'm like paying attention to the mainstream. One is, I don't know where I picked it up from, probably some guy from work, somebody significantly more brilliant than me, but like they said, not my circus, not my monkeys. Yeah. Right. So it makes me laugh every time I think about it, and I try to incorporate. But the one that I really hold near and dear to my heart is something that my buddy Michael DiNicola said, and he laughs every time I reflect it back to him, where he said to me, and this is in regards to like, what do I care about the person? He says, whatever that guy eats doesn't make me shit. And that makes me laugh even more.
That is amazing.
Love it.
So I oftentimes, to recalibrate, the moment I get hung up on like, because we're talking about the mainstream industry. I grew up in that space, so I have an affinity and love for it. I want it to continue. I want it to thrive. I want it to be bigger than where it was back in the day, and I want people to experience the kinds of things that I experienced when I was reading those books. Now, that obviously is a very subjective sort of experience, so who knows? But what I've come to read now, I don't necessarily agree with. I'm not aligned with it, so I don't buy it. But I'll get hung up on it. So when I'm focusing on that, I'll refer back to that bumper sticker, which is like, what that guy eats doesn't make me shit. So I'm going to go draw my book instead,
I love that.
You mean poo-poo
that's
because
awesome.
you're a kid, to go with the pee-pee.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't poo-poo.
Yep.
You eat the numbers.
Although trying to explain that concept to my kid, he'll probably sit there and look at me for a while and going like, that's profound. I can't wait to start blowing my kid's mind with shit like that, Hey,
It'd be so good.
Hey, Cal, what that guy eats doesn't make you shit. Dad, you're the best ever.
You're so wise. You're the yes.
I
do that with my son during our drives.
PPs for like proxy shoulders,
All right, Gib, you got scenarios for us?
Shit, are we there already?
It's been an hour and 7, hour and 8.
Oh my god!
Like I said, love you guys, and like the
going
time
first?
flies when we're like, I love our guests, but I like just bullshit with y'all. So it always feels good
Yeah.
and profound and good. I said good.
It's
twice.
fun.
And profound.
We're
Yeah,
really,
and
profound.
we're really good at
Good.
writing because it's good and profound. And
Yeah.
goodness.
All right. Yes, I have tailor-made questions for each of you.
Aw, shit.
Gosh.
All right. So since they've been so quiet, I was going to say they've been so loud, but let's start with Sai.
I talked a lot.
Yes.
All right, Sai, you ready?
Yes.
All right. There's a moment between when the sun sets and the night begins that time seems infinite. And for whatever reason, you watch this particular sunset noting the last rays of light. Then it happens. A crackle of sparks, a smell of ozone, an orb of unstable temporal energy swirls before you. It's a portal to the goddamn future. Sleek, metal, and neon, your heart is overjoyed. When the light recedes, though, a tall figure stands there. Bioorganic, machine-made flesh, advanced weaponry, wings of unidentifiable metals unfold, and a shock of red hair. You did this, she says. You did this to me, and I don't want this future. That's when Shae lunges for you. You have a weapon of choice, 2 luxury items, and 3 books. What do you do?
My weapon of choice is a hug. So I will take her in my
Sai
arms.
has weaponized a hug.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Let's see. My comfort item.
Luxury item, yep.
Luxury item. Okay.
Listen, I like comfort item more, man. We'll
Yeah.
hold on to that for a little bit.
It's like a size, like, can it be a comfort item?
Boobs.
Boobs.
The jewelry that I've given Shae up to this point.
Okay.
To kind of remind her.
To try to win angry Shae back over.
Cyborg, actual Valkyrie Shae coming for you to bring the beat
There's a
down.
ring.
No,
I got this ring.
I got this for you. I'd wrap my arms around her, kiss her, and yeah. Fuck books. I could.
Technomancer 1, Technomancer 2.
No, instead of that kind
Okay.
of writing, Shae and I exchanged a lot of letters once upon a time. So I would have those with me.
Aww.
And
That's sweet.
and I would just remind her that we've discussed what the future would be like. So if at some point in the future we've achieved even half of that, how could we possibly be upset?
Oh, that
You're
was
good.
so sappy.
Oh, you're good. Oh, you're
So
good.
sappy.
That was so good.
All
I can
right.
believe in love again.
Aren't you married?
Yes.
I love how he suddenly looked so scared.
Can she hear me?
All right, so who would like to
she's
go?
not subscribed to
Speaking
this
of
channel.
love, that takes me into Eric's question.
Oh, yes.
All right, Eric. That's it. You now hate Encanto. This is your 13th viewing over the last week. Yet, you endure. Because the love you feel for your family is worth missing out on a little bit of art time. Sitting on the couch with the wife, kid by the TV, you ponder, what would it take to kill Bruno? Glancing over, you notice a corner of the living room that seems darker. Smoke begins to twist and swirl. Your family, your talent, your success. I gave you those things. A voice says from the growing darkness. A form begins to take shape. Angular, hunched, with elongated tongue and pointed features. Now I take those back. I'll start with your hands, those talented hands. You'll keep your eyes, though, so you can watch what I'll do. Oh, the things that I will do. You have 1 weapon of choice, 1 luxury item, and 3 books. What do you do?
I have a butcher knife. Yeah, so I'll kill my family ahead of that guy, so he won't be able to have the pleasure of doing it.
Eric, each week I fall more in love with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I love you so much.
I take the pleasure of that pain of experiencing that, because rather than experiencing the pain of having somebody else do it, I'll experience the pain of doing it myself. So I'll take that pleasure away from that fellow, because that fucks up your plan. Congratulations, you came here for that. You got nothing. Luxury item.
Bounty towels for
Luxury.
blood, I guess, you know.
Hydrofluoric acid.
a
to
really,
clean up.
really airtight, most expensive trial lawyer, so I can get out of murdering my own fucking family. And I'll still continue to have a life and build a new family hereafter, independent of this dark corner demon. And then the books. Oh, I would like to reread this League of Extraordinary Gentlemen book that I have not read in what feels like forever. There is a history of Marvel Universe covers that I've been meaning to dive into, and how to survive a potential 20-year stint in prison if this guy doesn't get me out. I don't know if that book exists. Somebody should write it, because I regardless of how expensive this guy is, the blood,
How I Would Do It by OJ.
bloodbath, the bloodbath that I would put this demon through, I think would just land me in incarceration for a pretty long time.
If the butcher knife doesn't fit, you must acquit.
You must.
Yeah, if the stab wounds don't measure to the butcher knife, You must have quit. That's not as elegant, but
not as
not catchy. No,
not as catchy.
Not as bumper stickery.
Oh my god!
I love that.
That was the biggest twist. Whew.
What a twist!
What a twist! All right,
You
Miss
just
Shae, you ready?
M. Night Shyamalan the whole fucking episode right there. Oh my
I
god!
loved it.
All right, let's go.
All right, your turn.
Shit.
Times are hard right now. It's the silence, really. That's when it sucks the most. When the streams are over and the quiet of the house settles in, that's when your mind screams the loudest. The emotions you keep at bay, demanding your attention. You go to your journal, you pen a poem, codifying your catharsis. But as you write, the words begin to swirl. The ink moves, the lines rewrite themselves. Thank you for your words. They have fed us well. The ink moves faster, swirling about the room. Your words flash on the walls. Every dark moment, every dark thought, spotlighted. There's laughter as your words open a portal, and that's when the others start to cross over. You have a weapon of choice, 1 luxury item, and 3 books. What do you do?
Curse out my internet for hitching in the middle of that. So I got.
I'll start over if you like.
My words are on the wall. What happened after that?
All right. Times are hard right now. It's the silence that sucks the most. When the streams are over and the quiet of the house settles in, that's when your mind screams the loudest. Your emotions, you keep at bay, but they demand your attention. You go to your journal and you pen a poem, codifying your catharsis. As you write, the words begin to swirl. The ink moves. The lines rewrite themselves. Thank you for your words. They have fed us well. The ink moves faster. Your words flashed on the walls. Every dark moment spotlighted. Every dark thought open. There's laughter as your words open a portal and the others begin to cross over. You have a weapon of choice, 1 luxury item, and 3 books. What do you do?
Okay. Well, I think that my weapon of choice is going to be my not depressing writing that does actually exist. Despite the fact that my depressing stuff is usually more fun to write, sad as that is.
That's what you talk about the most, so.
Yeah, it is. It is. So
that's what I leaned into.
Because they are formed of my depressing words, I know what will destroy them, which is all of my happy ones. So I will just put that book aside. One of my books will be the Happier Journal that has all of my sappy love poems and upbeat shit, and I will just start reading them out and watching them scream in agony as they realize that they don't have the hold over me that they seem to think they do. My
they don't hold over you. Just you fed a dark demon. Like those words, your depression words, just open a portal. That's all.
It's fine.
Keep going.
So my luxury item will be my rosary, cause fuck you, bitch. Get out, demon. And my other books, I got the rosary. I don't really need the Bible as well. I think I could probably just banish it with that. It'll be fine. So I'll take the Arc Athena series, and I'll take She Wakes in Water, because I still need to finish that.
Yeah,
and
you do.
I'll just read those while this demon tries to poke at me, and I just the cross, rosary, happy words, go away.
Works for me.
Yay!
I could just see Shae using the rosary to like garrote the demons.
I mean, look, don't come up in this house. I fed you those words. I'll take them back. Oh, we need to create one for Gib.
Yes.
Nope. We're exempt.
Just this time. Don't worry. Next time.
I pee, I cry, I die. The end.
Nope. Next time we're gonna come up with words for Gib for sure.
Okay.
So Shae's was good, mine was sappy, and Eric's was just the fucking icing on the cake.
Surprisingly and beautifully violent, and it's always the
wonderful.
quiet ones. Like, I'll murder my fucking family. Like, Kanto has poisoned me. I'm ready to do this now.
The end was the same. They were gonna die anyway. Right?
Is this the argument you're making at trial right now?
They were gonna
Your
die
Honor, a
anyway.
demon's going to kill him, and I'd rather be merciful
This is what I'm gonna
than...
say. This is what I'm going to say to my trial lawyer. And he's like, "You didn't think about saving them at all?" And I'm all like, Where were you when I
Not
was
even-
stabbing them all in the face?
Look, I decided 73 stab wounds were the way to go, and
Made a
that
decision.
Yeah.
we're here.
Yeah, listen, it would have been violent if I went 74. It was
Yeah.
saving at 73.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at 72,
God.
I don't think I would have gotten my point across.
I was going to stop at 69, but I didn't want to be juvenile about this. Okay?
was
Gib
a
was going to
serious
hear about it, and I
matter.
was not going to hear the end of it. Dude, that was violent, but did you hear 69 times he stabbed his face?
Oh my God.
Shay, you want to take us out?
I don't know if I can. This is too funny.
You can. You can.
Seriously, thank you everybody for watching. Please
If
don't
you're
forget to
still here.
like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. If you would like to ever have any of your writings reviewed by the panel, feel free to send an email over to redvalkyrie.writingprose@gmail.com. And we're gonna try and do those once a quarter if people want to start submitting them. Otherwise, we're
You
just
get
gonna
more
keep
of
doing
this.
stuff like this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah,
this.
this is fun.
This is what it is.
It is.
And also, if you have any recommendations or suggestions or desires for topics, you can put them in the chat. You can
Or
send
guests.
them to the same email. Or guests. Yep, all of that. Let us know. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Writing Prose. Please like, share, and subscribe if you've enjoyed our content. You can also become a channel member or shop our merch store to support us. We're currently accepting fan-submitted stories for anonymous on-air review later in the season. Send your submissions to redvalkyrie.writingprose@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.